Welcome to Virtual Gardening 101. This is a place where we dig into the digital soil and reap real results. I want to thank you for joining me for another interesting feature. The first weed species that I'll be focusing on in this series is Parthenium hysterophorus, aka Santa Maria feverfew. This is an aggressive annual herbaceous weed of highly negative economic importance. It is known for its vigorous growth and high fecundity, or its ability to produce multiple offsprings, especially in warm climates like Jamaica. It is a prolific weed belonging to the Asteraceae, or the daisy family, and is capable of producing thousands of small flower heads, each yielding several seeded fruits on reaching maturity. By the way, Santa Maria feverfew is commonly called white top. It has now become the world's seventh most serious weeds in warm climates. It is known to invade established gardens, plantations, and other disturbed areas. As you can see here, the red aphids are feeding on it, but they have not been able to destroy it. And the ladybugs featured here also feed on the larvae of the red aphid. So you have a pest predator thing going on. The area I'm featuring was not colonized by this weed species about 7 years ago. However, it has become the most dominant weed species growing here since we started using herbicides to control the brachiaria grass that is growing in close proximity. Now, brachiaria grass is a tropical forage grass that is native to Africa, and here in Jamaica it is used mainly to feed cows and goats. Its commercial use for pasture production only began in Africa at the start of the 21st century, because it produces a large amount of high-quality biomass that improves the availability of quality feed. Its high nutrient value increases livestock productivity of not just milk but also meat, and it reduces the overall carbon footprint on the livestock production system. I go a step further to emphasize how serious a weed species Santa Maria feverfew is. The brachiaria grass was also the dominant plant growing alongside this roadway. Over the years, we had a problem or a challenge in maintaining the road, in tip-top shape, and we opted to use herbicides to keep the grass down. Santa Maria feverfew is now the most dominant weed species alongside Spanish needle or Bidens pilosa growing in this area, which proves the point I made earlier that the frequent use of herbicides has contributed to the proliferation of this weed species. The next weed species that I'm going to be focusing on is Spanish needle, and it goes by several names within the Bidens family. You have Bidens alba, Bidens bipinata, as well as Bidens pilosa. Now, Bidens pilosa is the one that is grown here in Jamaica based on the check that I have done. And Bidens pilosa is an annual species of herbaceous flowering plant within the daisy family, Asteraceae. It goes by many common names, for example, hitchhikers, blackjack, beggar's sticks, farmer's friends, as well as Spanish needle, but most commonly cobbler's pegs. We can make the connection with the Spanish needle from the poem. For those of us who have gone to primary school, we were introduced to the poem The Spanish Needle, written by our very own, the late writer and poet Claude McKay. Here in Jamaica, you know, we love our bush medicine, and Spanish needle has a number of medicinal properties. I have not tried any of this, and so I just want to put out the disclaimer that if you try any of these and anything happens, then please don't blame me. I am only reporting based on what I have seen from the research that I have done. Now, it is said that the leaves are used to make a tea. The flowers can be soaked in rum and used to bring relief for colds as well as toothache. It is also used to soothe teething pains in babies. The juice can be used on cuts as well as eye inflammation. Spanish needle is said to be native to tropical America, but has managed to spread across all tropical regions and has become one of the world's worst weeds. And you know why. Its hooked seeds attach easily to clothing, which helps with its spread. So there's no way that you can pass through a plot of land that is dominated by Spanish needles when the seeds are ready to be dispersed, and you're going to escape without the borers, I call them borers, or the seeds, getting onto your clothing, and it takes a while before you can actually remove them. And I call this the borer effect, and as you can see from the pictures that I have shown, yes, it's really a problematic weed. And so we as humans become a conduit or medium through which the seeds are dispersed. And of note, Spanish needles can be confused with its close relative Bidens alba, which has white ray florets as well. I made reference to Bidens pilosa, or Spanish needle, being referred to as farmer's friend. I think the persons who regarded it as such made a mistake, honestly, because this is an invasive weed species, and it seems to be one of those weed species that proliferate with the increased usage of herbicides. So farmers have a very hard time controlling this weed, and so they have to be constantly using herbicides. But for me, it seems as if it doesn't work. Even this morning I was passing a particular location and I noticed that Spanish needle is growing there, and the land seems to be in preparation mode for cultivation, and I noticed that it has been sprayed. I don't know which kind of herbicide the person used, but all I know is that the constant use of herbicide give this particular weed species a boost, just like how you have, say, the Santa Maria feverfew that proliferates when you spray, as if these chemicals have no control over these weed species. And so there's no way I would agree with the person who said that Spanish needle is actually farmer's friend. They got to be joking, honestly. On to Leonotis nepetifolia, aka Christmas candlestick, lion's tail, devil's pincushion, lion's ear, bird honey. And I think I know why, because I was coming from church this afternoon and I saw a plot of land that was in cultivation, and they have ceased, and this area was sprayed with herbicides on a regular basis, and this plant is now growing there, or one of the dominant species found there. And I saw hummingbirds. I wanted to capture the bird, but it was very difficult to actually get a nice clip. And it is also called clip dagger. Now, Christmas candlestick is native to tropical Africa as well as southern India, and it is also found in abundance in Latin America as well as the West Indies, and it is no surprise why I saw it growing in that particular location. And I think I could say that it is linked to the use of herbicide, because that particular area was covered with bacteria grass, and because the person used herbicides on a regular basis to clear the land for vegetable cultivation over time, this plant became one of the dominant weed species that now exists in that particular location. And Christmas candlestick is said to grow along roadsides, and yes, I can say that based on where I saw it. And it's also found in rubbish heap. I'm not able to prove that. And also in wastelands. And based on how it grows and the amount of seeds that it is able to produce, it is able to take over a particular piece of land in a short space of time. And I totally agree with the persons who say that this is an invasive species. Here we have grass leaf spurge, also called the angle of Brazil, and botanically Euphorbia graminea. It is a perennial wildflower with a prolific growth rate. It has a woody stem, and when it is broken, it can ooze a toxic milky sap. It is typically found in waste places, along roadsides, as well as in gardens. And it is said that it tends to displace other native grasses as well as vegetation once it is established in areas such as pastures, rangelands, and once it is established, it is very difficult to control. And based on what I have read, it would appear as if it is cultivated in some places, but it is prohibited in 10 US states to actually cultivate this plant, and it is declared a noxious weed in 12 other US states. So this goes to show that this is not really a desirable weed species. Up next we have Cyclospermum leptophyllum, aka Marsh Parsley, also called slender parsley, as well as wild celery. Marsh parsley is regarded as a summer annual, and it is native to Australia and also in the Apiaceae family, which is the same family as that of carrots. Now, it is also found worldwide at warm, temperate to tropical latitudes, and is considered a noxious weed in many areas, and noxious weed is deemed injurious to agricultural crops, natural habitats as well as ecosystems by agricultural authorities. Marsh parsley is a taprooted plant, and just to explain what a taproot is, it is a central dominant root from which other roots sprout laterally. In plants such as carrots, the taproot is a storage organ so well developed that it is cultivated as a vegetable. Now, marsh parsley also have thread-like green leaves, only a few centimeters long, and small umbels of spherical flowers. And an umbel is an inflorescence consisting of a number of short flower stalks that spread from a common point like an umbrella ribs. Under normal conditions, marsh parsley can spread out of its cultivated area into lawns as well as other locations where it is considered weedy and become invasive in some environments. The young seedlings resemble wild carrot seedlings, and this could, pose a problem for farmers. The leaves are used by some as a substitute for parsley. And the final weed species for this feature is Lepidium virginicum, aka Virginia pepperweed or least pepperweed. This is a herbaceous plant in the mustard family, and it is a native species of North America as well as Central America, and it can be found elsewhere as an introduced species. It normally grows in places such as yards, and I've seen it growing a lot in recent times in my yard as well. And it can also be found along roadsides as well as other landscape areas. Now, the most identifiable characteristics of Virginia pepperweed are the racemes. The raceme is a cluster with separate flowers attached to a short, equal stalk at equal distance along a central stem. The flowers at the base of the central stem develops first. The racemes give Virginia pepperweed the appearance of a bottle brush. On the racemes are first white flowers and later greenish fruits. It is interesting to note that all parts of the plant are edible and it has a peppery taste. The young leaves can be used as a pot herb. They can be sauteed or used raw in salads. The young seed pods can be used as a substitute for black pepper as well, and I think this is where the name comes from. The leaves contain vitamin A as well as vitamin C. Now, these are just a few of the thousands of weeds that are out there that we have to deal with on a regular basis. I hope that this feature would have opened your eyes to, what is happening within your surroundings. And I trust that the information that I've shared, will help you to better prepare to deal with the challenges that come with, weeds and the whole gardening experience. I want to thank you for taking the time out to come over to Virtual Gardening 101, the place where we dig into the digital soil and reap real results. This is a new channel, and I'd really appreciate it if you could give it some support by, first of all, liking the content and sharing it with somebody, because the aim is to bring about awareness. I welcome your feedback in the comment section, and you could give the channel a further boost by subscribing as well. Once again, I want to say thank you for stopping by, and I'll catch you in another one.